Self-confidence by Next Level Thinking. You can do it if you believe you can. Social heredity. Most of a person's makeup comes from social heredity. This is the reason for superstitions, beliefs, legends, and ideas come from and passed into the next generation. Social heredity means any sources that a person can acquire knowledge such as schooling, reading, word of mouth, storytelling, and personal experience. The mind of a child in the first 2 years of its life is open and free and lacks understanding. Any idea placed in the mind of a child can't be eradicated or wiped out, no matter how strong the idea or reasoning of it is. Hill saw a nest of birds and approached it to see what happened when he approached. The mother bird walked away as pretending to be crippled. Hill knew how the birds trick and went into the nest anyway. With no fear, the little birds looked up at him as he picked them up. He laid the birds down and walked away to allow the mother to come back. The mother came back to teach him self-defense. She said, "You know mankind is your enemy, and that you should always run away or hide when you see him." Hill returned to the nest again another day, and the mother did the same cripple trick. And Hill went to the nest, but the little birds were nowhere to be found. He did this for many days, and he could never find the little birds. A dog was taken to a farm to save it. The neighbor had chickens. As soon as nobody was in sight, the dog would attack the chicken, but the chicken's claws defended himself. The dog charged again, but the chicken defended herself again. A dog was taken to a farm to save it. The neighbor had chickens. As soon as nobody was in sight, the dog would attack the chicken, but the chicken's claws defended itself. The dog charged again, but the chicken defended herself again. The dog was on the run. The chicken began to follow him, attempting to continuously attack him. The dog covered his eyes with his paws and protected his eyes from being picked out in the barn with the chicken he was cornered in. The next day a chicken was placed where the dog slept, and he ran away for the corner and never attempted to catch a chicken from that day forward. Two boys were given $100 a month, about $2,580 today, and they spent it instead of on alcohol because they had never had to struggle and work for their money. Years later, their father was bankrupt, as well as both of his sons. Not all rich children end up doing well, because they often are in action, then atrophy, which leads to lack of ambition and self-confidence. This resulted in one boy dying in delirium tantrums and the other in an insane asylum. The father also lost all of his money and assets. Struggle is an advantage, because it develops qualities that couldn't be developed without it. Many have found a place in the world because of struggle in early life. Many parents want their children to live an easy life because they worked hard. This is a mistake. An easy time is a great handicap to a person's progress. Forced idleness is worse than forced labor early in life. Being forced to work and do your best will create temperance, self-control, willpower, contentment, and many other virtues. Lack of the necessity for struggle leads to weakness of ambition and willpower. But what is more dangerous still, it sets up in a person's mind a state of lethargy that leads to the loss of self-confidence. The person who has quit struggling because effort is no longer necessary is literally applying the principle of autosuggestion, and they're undermining his own power of self-confidence. Such a person will finally drift into a frame of mind in which he will actually look down with more or less contempt upon the person who is forced to carry on. Let us apply this line of reasoning to salesmanship and see what part self-confidence plays in the great field of endeavor. One of the greatest salesmen in this country has ever seen was once a clerk in a newspaper office. It will be worth your while to analyze his methods through which he gained his title as the world's greatest leading salesman. There was a timid young man who didn't have ambition in life. He heard a lecture on self-confidence and was determined to get himself out of the rut he was in. He applied to be a salesman. Everyone laughed at him. He made a list of merchants to call. Most would logically pick the easiest merchants to sell to, but he picked ones that even experienced salesmen struggled with. He had 12 names picked out and repeated to himself 100 times. "You will purchase advertising space from me before the end of the month." He made calls and sold the 11 impossible to sell to merchants on the deal. The last merchant he called every day for the next month. He said no each time, but the salesman didn't hear that. He continued. After 30 days of calls, the merchant asked, "Why are you wasting my time?" The salesman said, "You are not wasting my time. I've learned the arguments for not buying, and I've been practicing my self-confidence." The merchant said, "You have taught me a lesson in persistence, and for this lesson I will pay you for advertising space." This story teaches that the path of least resistance often doesn't develop self-confidence as well as the path of most resistance. Encouraging your spouse. From having analyzed more than 16,000 people, the majority of whom were married men, I've learned something that may be of value to wives. Let me state my thought in these words. Well, these are Hill's words. Wives have the power to get their husbands to go away to their work with a feeling of self-confidence that will carry him throughout work to bring him home happy. One of Hill's friends married a woman who had false teeth. One day she dropped her teeth and it broke. Her husband examined the teeth and said, "You can make a set of teeth like that if you made your mind up to do it." The farmer had no ambition until his wife made this remark. She walked over to him and encouraged him to try dentistry. She coaxed him at the start, and he became one of the greatest dentists in Virginia. No one can foretell the possibilities of achievement of a man whose wife backs him up and urges him to be more ambitious. Wives should back their husband definite achievement. You can induce him, put great effort about making him believe he is powerful and you will do him a great service. No, this can also be applied to husbands encouraging their wives as well. Nothing can bring you success but yourself. You would need the cooperation of others if you want far-reaching success. You can see people have the same training and perform the same work, get higher in positions in a company than others. The difference being the one who advances believes in themselves, backed by aggressive action. This confidence in yourself will attract others. You can tell one who does not advance by looking at their face, posture, lack of brisk steps, and uncertainty in speech of the lack of self-confidence. No one pays attention to someone who lacks confidence. He doesn't attract others due to his negative beliefs in himself. Self-confidence is important in salesmen. You can tell the self-confidence of a salesman when you meet him. It is written all over him. He inspires you with good confidence in himself and his goods. You are now ready to take hold of autosuggestion and make direct use of it in becoming a positive, dynamic, and self-reliant person. You must copy this formula, sign it, and repeat it. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose. Therefore, I demand myself persistent, aggressive, and continuous action towards its attainment. Second, I realize that the dominating thoughts of my mind eventually reproduce themselves in outward bodily action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my mind for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I tend to become, thereby creating a mental picture of this person and then transferring that picture into reality through practical service. Third, I know that through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of realizing it. Therefore, I should devote 10 minutes daily to demanding myself the development of the factors named in the 16 lessons of this reading course on the law of success. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite purpose in life for the coming 5 years. I have set a price of my service for each of these 5 years, a price that I intend to earn and receive through strict application of the principle of efficient, satisfactory service which I render in advance. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because I will serve them. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity because I know that negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that will gradually influence my entire lifestyle, become a successful and happy worker in my chosen field of endeavor. Signed, your name. Before you sign, make sure you can carry out the instruction. This well works as proven by psychologists called autosuggestion. By writing this formula out, it forms the habit of believing in yourself, the dominating thought in your mind, and you embed in your subconscious mind that habit. Habit is created by directing your five senses in a given direction. This habit is cause of alcohol abuse and drug addiction. After habit has been established, it will automatically control and direct your body and develop self-confidence. Voluntarily and by force if necessary, direct your efforts and your thoughts along a desired line until you form a habit. Any statement that you make to yourself or any desire deeply planted into your mind through repeated statements will express itself in your actions. Principle of habit is the foundation of self-confidence. Following the directions of building habit, you will know much more than reading thousands of lessons on habit. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you've lost. For out of the world we find, success begins with the fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Somewhere in your makeup there is a subtle something that if aroused by proper outside influence would carry you to achieve great things you would not have anticipated. Just as a master musician can take a violin and play a beautiful song, no man knows the hidden forces that lie within you. You do not know the capacity for achievement, and you won't know until you come in contact with the stimulus that arouses you to action, extends your vision, develops self-confidence, and moves you with a deeper desire to achieve. Reading these laws of success can be that proper outside influence. It is true that the most important turning points in life come at the most unexpected times and ways. Next slide is an example of how a seemingly unimportant experience can awaken you to the full understanding of the value of self-confidence. Hill worked as a character analyst. One day, a homeless person asked for an interview. He discovered his book, Self-Confidence, which he felt he needed to see Hill to help him to get out of his rut. He believed there was nothing he could do for him. He looked discouraged, had poor posture, and overgrown facial hair. Hill asked him to tell his story. He invested in some money in a business, but after World War One began, it failed, and then he lost his money. His loss almost made him commit suicide, and he became homeless. He said, "There's nothing I can do for you. I wish I could." This man became hopeless, and then Hill said, "Well, there's nothing I can do for you. There is someone in the building that can help you regain your fortune and hope." He jumped up and grabbed Hill and said, "For God's sake, please tell me of the man." Hill pulled him to another room and stood in front of a curtain which revealed a mirror and said, "There is the only man that can put you back on your feet, and until you meet him for the first time and begin to know him, you will be of no value to yourself or the world." He stepped back and began to cry. Hill led him out since he knew the lesson had been learned, but he never thought he would see him regain his fortune and hope. A few days later, Hill met the man on the street again, and he walked with confidence and had new clothes. The man was on his way to Hill's office, and he got a job for $76,000 a year. This man was very thankful for Hill that he had saved him and would give him any amount of money he desired when he was successful. Hill looked at the mirror and discovered that he also wanted to help people build self-confidence and discover the purpose in life. That man now owns a business which operates from Canada and Mexico. Do not care about what they will say, because they will be of no aid in the achievement of your definite purpose. You have the power to achieve whatever you want, and the best way to build this power is to believe in yourself. You should learn the difference between self-confidence and egotism. Self-confidence is based on sound knowledge. Egotism is based on what you wish you knew or could do. Learn the difference, or people of culture will hate you. Self-confidence is not proclaimed, but shown by your constructive deeds without fuss or flurry. Opportunity comes to those with self-confidence instead of egotism. Believe in yourself, but do not tell the world what you can do. Show it. F.W. Woolworth, the 5 and 10 store king, stood on Fifth Avenue in New York City and gazed upon a tall metropolitan building and said, "How wonderful! I will build one much taller." The crowning achievement of his life was measured by the Woolworth Building. That building stands as a temporary symbol of man's nature to excel at the handiwork of other men, a monument to the vanity of man, with but little else to justify his existence. The little rag newsboy on the street stands with wide open mouth and envies the businessman as he alights from his automobile at the curb and starts into his office. "How happy I would be," the newsboy said to himself, "if I owned a Lamborghini." And the businessman seated at his desk inside thinks how happy he could be if he could add another $1 million to his already overswollen bank account. The grass is always sweeter on the other side of the fence. Happiness is just around the bend, always in sight, but just out of reach. Life is never complete, no matter what we have or how much of it we possess. One thing calls for something else to go with it. And the God of destiny cries out, "O fool, you are damned if you do and damned if you don't." At every point in life, discontentment says, "Do whatever you want and have all the luxuries you want, but it will never be enough." How beautiful the mountain yonder in the distance, but the moment we draw near it, we find it to be nothing but a wretched collection of rocks and dirt and trees. Things aren't always as good as they seem to be. That was Self-Confidence by Next Level Thinking.